Alright guys, Kremp again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. More Rostermania confirmations going down last night. This time it's Toronto Ultra confirming their brand new team for the upcoming season, with the OpTic boys giving their perspectives on many rosters over the last few days. Pred believes that of all the rosters out there that are not the top 3 teams, Surge might well be the most competitive, or potentially the new Cloud9. Doesn't seem to think that Toronto, despite all their success over the last couple of years, will be anywhere near as good without Scrappy and Envoy. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. First of all, just an update here on this whole Doug St. Martin Guinness World Records drama. So if you guys didn't see this yesterday, Doug's record attempt was, well, it's not denied in the sense that it's a legit attempt, and we saw it. It's on video evidence of him breaking the world record. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it goes in the Guinness Book of World Records. That's because someone's got to make some money out of this at the end of the day. That's generally how things seem to work. So it's tough for Doug because I imagine that all of this kind of, let's say, discussion with GWR went on behind the scenes for months before and then since, I would even imagine, this record attempt. I imagine that somebody came on board to ensure that this was all sorted out so Doug could focus on the training and actually breaking this world record rather than worrying about the, validity of the world record attempt. Turns out though, whoever did that communication didn't do so well enough. Now, there were some people pointing this out, that actually Guinness World Records themselves just a week or so ago tweeted this out and, saying how he broke a world record to raise funds for a suicide prevention charity, which sounds great, but hang on a second. Raising money for charity is fine, or it's not fine, or what's going on? Now, it is fine if you pay them enough money, basically. So actually, because this caused a lot of drama, they responded and said they were not present at Sensor's pull-up livestream. We are still proud to offer a free application service for individuals looking to break a record for their own personal achievement, and the process can be made faster via our priority service. But where businesses and brands are involved, there are associated fees. I think the point is, I'm not even necessarily sure it's the charity thing. I'm guessing that, Doug worked with some other entities to put on the event, maybe. And I guess Guinness's perspective is that, well, if you're using this, with some other entities in mind, then they're going to benefit from the marketing or something. So effectively, they want their paycheck. I think that's how it works. And apparently, when you apply through the other channels to either work with other entities in the process of making the record happen, they just want like a serious amount of money. That apparently is so much money that some people are like, well, that ain't going to be worth it, right? So I guess it's interesting because you guys remember when Big Timer was in the Guinness Book of World Records. Many of you guys won't remember because it's back in like 2010 or whatever. But when Big Timer was the most successful ever COD player, and he'd won the most championships, he got in the world record book. But it's not like he broke a world record. It's just like that was a cool record that they decided to put in the book, I guess. Whereas this is more like you're trying to break a record to become the official Guinness World Record holder. But it doesn't necessarily work like that. So Sensor says, due to the corporate sponsorship of the events, because maybe there are other entities involved as well, that basically it was denied. So we'll continue our conversation with Sensor and his sponsors, and we look forward to assessing the evidence. So it doesn't seem like it's necessarily over yet, but I guess their point will be, all right, cough up the money, and then we'll kind of, verify this as a legit record. So, look, we know that over the last couple of years, the COD community has managed to successfully bully the pro players into using snipers in competitive play. If we manage to bully the Guinness Book of World Records to put him in the book, then that will be quite the accomplishment. But let's talk roster stuff. Daryl confirms yesterday it's official, contract signed. We're pretty sure he's going to Gentle Mate. We think it's going to be Skyz, Kiz, Priestahh. Of course, 3 guys that he won the World Championship with as their coach during the 2023 season, with Lynz in addition as a player rather than HyDra as it was at the time. So we're pretty sure that's happening. It's still not been confirmed yet at all, however. The Gentle Mates are even coming in, but as we know, it's been absolute radio silence from the Los Angeles Guerrillas for months, so I think it's relatively safe to say that Guerrillas are not going to be fielding a roster for next season, and someone, Gentle Mates, we believe, are going to come in instead. Gataga's team, of course, if you guys aren't familiar. Los Angeles Thieves, they finally confirmed JoeDeceives is gone. They released the rest of their guys, Nastie and Kremp, a while ago. JoeD, though, was still on the roster technically, but when they confirmed the brand new super team with Scrap and Envoy coming into the roster in addition to HyDra and then Ghosty staying on the team, that meant JoeDeceives is going to be finding his way out, right? I mean, they could have kept him as a sub, but like that wasn't going to make much sense. And also, teams were trying to get him, right? We know that Toronto were looking to pay a buyout for Real. So, and then Heretics said no. So I'm guessing that money that they were going to pay on that buyout for Real probably, possibly, I don't know, went to Thieves to get JoeDeceives off their roster, right? But they had a pretty good relationship where I think, well, basically, they seem to give Nature a good deal for Scrappy, so I imagine that Thieves niced them the other way around as well. I guess time will tell if we ever find out any more on that story, but I think he did a great job for the team this last season. Obviously, a player who's on the upright, ranked play kid a couple of years ago, comes into the Gorillas as a solid season. This year, of course, was much better. Shane gives him lots of credit as well. And he says, this is pretty high praise actually, easily the most coachable player I've ever worked with. I mean, you've got to think, Shane's been around as a coach in the league for some time, joined the Los Angeles Thieves during Vanguard, and you know, obviously he's been a player for many years before that. So Shane's worked with lots of guys in his career as a player and as a coach, including world champions. And Shane reckons that JoeDeceives is arguably the best in some capacity of all of those guys. So yeah, Joe gives him some credit as well. Nice to see, talented player, well-liked player in the community, and as we've known for some time, he is going to be on the Toronto Ultra for the upcoming season. I kind of spoiled the announcement video there, but it's not like, you know, we see other organizations putting together spectacular pieces of content for their announcement videos, and I always kind of wonder why, and I kind of rate what Toronto have done here in a sense. It's similar to what happened last year. You guys remember when Envoy was announced? I think they did that announcement video on the, is it called the Toronto Island on the other side of the harbour? It was like sunset, I think that was the video anyway. This time they do it slightly differently. Insights here, he's looking at the CN Tower, CleanX's boy comes up, and then JoeDeceives does it, and then of course Beans on the left-hand side as well. People were saying, oh, Joe, he's got no ice, right? Because you see he tries to put his hand in his pocket, but he kind of bottles it first attempt. But, you know, maybe he's going to have the ice when the season starts. Anyway, that's your roster of 4. We've known it for some time. Insight was like, hey, why do I look so short? Because JoeDeceives is actually pretty tall. But it's an interesting team. We know that Hicksy was rumoured to be joining the team. I think they at least considered bringing him back. There was some talks that, like, Scrappy kind of, like, leaked it or didn't really leak it. I don't know, that Hicksy was going to go there. Turns out Surge is going to go to instead. Hicksy, obviously, with Abuzah, Nastie, and 04. That's the rumour. We'll see what Pred says on that here in a couple of seconds. But, yeah, Hicksy was responding to this. But what do you guys think about this roster for the upcoming season? Because, as far as I'm concerned, this is one of the best teams that could have been built. It's also no secret as well that Insight and CleanX took major pay cuts to actually stay on the organisation, right? So these guys have been on Toronto now for several years. In some sense, they've kind of had the keys for a little bit of time, but now they obviously properly have the keys this season. Insight and CleanX were both told they were restricted free agents. They could explore opportunities. They didn't get a better offer than to stay on Toronto, even though they've had to take a pay cut, I imagine, to make that happen. So does that mean the streams are going to start going on? Hopefully, maybe, but we'll see. I think regardless, they've done the best they could realistically possibly do. I love the Beans pickup. I think that it's exciting to see Beans actually on a team from the start of a year. Usually he gets picked up into a situation which isn't especially promising and shows some promising play himself. He's obviously a very talented player. I think he will need to show some greater consistency this year, because even at the end of last season, even at the World Cup when he played for Ravens, like he had his moments, absolutely, and then he also had his stinker maps. So he needs to cut that out if he wants to get anywhere close to what Scrappy was able to do for this team over the last couple of years. But I feel like of the teams they could have built, this is almost as good as it could have got. You could have argued Sib instead of Beans, but they ain't got the money for that. Toronto, it seems. So and hopefully they've saved some money to run another event this year, because the events in Toronto are mega, and hopefully that's what we see. But I guess time will tell. We don't know the schedule yet. I imagine it's coming soon per rumours. And then of the SMG options that have the potential to slay alongside CleanX, JoeDeceives is definitely one of them, right? So I do like the roster. I do wonder as well what happened with Bance, because you guys, I mean, I mentioned this a couple of times. They did that video after EWC and Bance was sitting down saying good to be back. Now, obviously, he was never going to be a starting player, but I thought he was going to be involved somehow. And would he still be tweeting about it if he's not involved at all? Or was it just bait for, like, what reason, I guess is the question. So maybe there's something more to happen on that, I guess, over the coming days. Just quickly, though, there has been talk at the organisation, Overactive Media, in terms of coalescing all of their brands under one heading. They have Toronto Ultra, they have Toronto Defiance, right? Their Overwatch League thing, is that right? Mad Lions, KOI, like there's lots of stuff happening. So, and aBeZy, I think, tweeted about this a while ago. He said he kind of wanted to have one brand, and there was a theory, okay, is that going to be Ultra, maybe, and everything's just going to go under the Ultra brand, which is kind of what I'd do, but obviously I'm biased as a COD fan. And then aBeZy tweets this out, quote tweeting the Toronto announcement, all in Spanish. And, you know, he says, this time we're serious, more to come. So what do we think about this? Is there going to be some sort of transition from this organization elsewhere? Because apparently aBeZy has been mentioning as well that under KOI they're going to unify all of the teams. So, and apparently next week it's going to be happening. So maybe some sort of rebrand happening with Toronto, and maybe it's going to become like more of like a Spanish entity, but still based in Toronto. I don't know. Maybe just because the Spanish entity is doing better than, you know, the Toronto teams are. Interested to hear your thoughts in the comment section below on that. But I might not paint a great picture for a Toronto event this upcoming season, but I'm certainly hoping that it still happens. Couple of clips though to share. Kenny's thoughts on the Falcons. Definitely a bit of a hot take, not going to lie, that at the start of the game, I guess, look, they're going to have the chemistry, so they might be very solid. But also Pred, looking at that Toronto team, looking at the Surge team, looking at the Cloud9 team, he reckons that Toronto are not going to be right at the top of the pack of the bottom 8. And despite the fact that on paper you certainly can look at that Toronto team, and in my opinion, I think they should be the 4th best team in the world. But the OpTic guys don't seem to agree.
Like, Toronto's Beans, CleanX, Inside, and Joe? I thought it was fucking some other shit. I thought Hicksy was joining.
I thought Hicksy was on that team too. I can't lie.
I think Hicksy got rumored for both the bottom 2. Like,
damn,
Toronto and Vancouver.
Hicksy, Nastie. I actually don't mind that. I generally don't mind that team.
Which one? The Ultra
Surge team, yeah.
Really?
I think it's better than all those teams, besides maybe C9.
Wait, what's the other team without Hicksy then?
I just think 04 and Abuzah have like
nah, I do fuck the 04 Abuzah duo though.
I feel like they have like a decent dynamic, and I feel like Hicksy's like selfless, and Nastie can like, I don't know, I actually don't mind that team. Like, I feel like they're gonna be the team that's gonna be like
top.
Yeah, like in my opinion, I think Gentlemates.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. All these teams, I don't want to say.
I mean, Gentlemates is literally C9 V2,
yeah.
bro.
And I feel like Ultra just
Gentlemates is literally MW2,
bro.
It's actually 2023 MW2. They even got a French kid.
Bro, I'm gonna call this right now. I'll call this right now. The Falcons is the
comedy.
best team out of all these teams in the first like month.
Your call,
bro, because that's how it works. Like,
because they're about to have so much.
Remember at BO4, like the Miami team, they just spawn. Like whenever a team like this just spawns in, they be like in the beginning of the game where the game doesn't matter how you play.
Yeah,
like they are the best.
Yeah, because they're their own style.
I'm actually happy for them though. I'm glad that they're in. Honestly.
Yeah, once like people figured out that Miami is just basically hiding like everywhere. Once people figured that out, because they were 5-2 at the first stage. Because I'm like, wait, what are they doing? Then you realize you play against them, like you can't find them for a little bit.
So very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below, right? You look at the other teams as well out there. Of course, the Cloud9 roster with Sib, Attach, and Kremp and Mack. Like, okay, there's some promising pieces in there, but I'm not so convinced overall. I just think looking at the Toronto team, we know what Insight and CleanX have done over the last few years. They've always been in grand finals. They've always won events in the CDL. Over like every year of the CDL, they've won an event. CleanX has won an event for Toronto, even if, you know, okay, it was Kickoff Classic right in Vanguard, but still technically a LAN event that they won, albeit single elimination. So they've done that every single year. This year, they still seem to have the pieces behind the scenes of the organization to make it work. They've arguably picked up some of the best players available, and I just think that of that roster, there are fewer weaknesses than of the other teams that are being formed. I think there are questions on Cloud9. I think there are questions on Gentlemates. I think there are questions on Seattle Surge in terms of whether replacing Hook was actually a good idea or not, and I feel like Toronto have fewer questions than those other teams. So if there was a team that I would predict to be 4th best when the season properly gets going, it's probably that Toronto team. But yeah, time will tell whether that's true or not. But very much interested in your thoughts, as ever, on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.